Today we have the all-new 2025 Mercedes AMG GLC 43. In this video, I'll talk about what the new GLC is, how I feel about the interior space, and what it's like to drive it. Now, the GLC is the best-selling Mercedes-Benz in the United States, so I don't think I have to tell you how important for the brand this thing is. I mean, just looking at the lineup, you can see that everyone can find something for themselves as long as they like four-cylinder engines. The GLC 300 is what opens up the lineup, then we have a plug-in hybrid 350e. There are also two offerings from AMG, the GLC 43 and the top-of-the-line 63. Today's hero is the GLC 43, so let's talk about this bad boy and some of its technical aspects. Now, what's just as impressive as controversial about the GLC 43 is the powertrain. Just like in the case of the new C-Class C43, gone is a twin-turbo V6 and in its place came a 2-liter 4-cylinder. It makes 416 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque and features an electric-assisted turbocharger. Now, the way it works is there's a small electric motor that's attached to the turbo on the intake side that spools the turbo before the exhaust gases take over. It eliminates turbo lag and gives you more linear power delivery. Now, the power is transferred to all wheels via a 9-speed multi-clutch transmission, and since this is a mild hybrid, there's a 13 horsepower electric motor that sits between the engine and the transmission to mainly improve fuel economy. So, as you can tell, we're talking about a very complex drivetrain. The torque distribution obviously varies depending on the driving conditions, but default split is 39 front, 61 rear, so it's a rear-biased system. The AMG variant obviously received bigger brakes with 6-piston front calipers and retuned suspension with adaptive dampers, which, just like in the case of the other GLCs, is a double wishbone construction front and back. Oh, and I almost forgot, a 4-wheel steering system is standard on all AMG models. Now, before we talk what it's like to drive the new GLC 43, let's take a look inside and talk about the interior space. Alrighty, inside the new GLC. The interior is basically a carbon copy of the C-Class, and by all means that's not a bad thing because the new C has a pretty good darn cabin. The first thing you notice is a clean, simple design with some retro touches, such as the steering wheel or the climate vents, but that's basically where the retro ends, as Mercedes followed current trends to declutter the interior by removing majority of buttons. Thankfully, we still get physical controls for things that matter, and there are even some capacitive controls on the steering wheel or underneath the display. They don't replace actual buttons, but I'll take them over nothing. Besides that, everything else is in the infotainment system. I must admit though, the MBUX system has grown on me, and while it takes a second to learn what it can do, it does have a somewhat intuitive interface and good responsiveness. It's not overwhelming despite a lot of options, and after a week, tops 2 of living it, you'll get used to it. The digital gauge cluster is super customizable, allowing you to change the design of your gauges from Super Sport to Classic to Driver Assistance View. You can select a variety of information that it shows or display a full screen map. The only thing that I would change is a higher refresh rate for smoother animations. Another area where I would like to see some improvement is material choice and quality. Yes, when you first look at it, everything looks premium and the attention to detail is there from a visual standpoint, but once you take a closer look and start interacting with certain elements, such as the center console or the steering wheel, or if you take a closer look at some plastics, you notice some cost cutting, and I hate to say this, but even the Volvo XC60 feels more premium and more better built than the GLC. From a practical point of view, the Benz is okay. Not class-leading, but you get enough storage in the center console, the door pockets are fine and can fit larger bottles, and the trunk offers 22 cubic feet of space behind the second row, 59 after folding the seats down. The base front seats wrapped in synthetic leather and Alcantara that our tester has are okay. They offer acceptable support and comfort, but aren't segment-leading. I'm gonna bring up the XC60 again and say that this is also another area where Volvo just smokes the Benz. Volvo seats are just better, more supportive and more comfortable. To be fair though, you can get AMG Performance buckets as an option, which probably don't hold you as well as Volvo seats, so if you're cross-shopping those cars or just looking at the GLC, be sure to check them out. Now, I know that the term average seems to be the theme of this cabin, and that's also the case when it comes to the back seat. It offers average amount of room, we get climate vents and a couple of USB-C charging ports. Overall, the cabin of the GLC is a nice place to be at, but just requires some touches. But for us car enthusiasts, that's secondary, so let's get this thing on the road and see how it drives. Alright guys, driving the GLC 43 AMG. I don't know if you can believe that, I couldn't, but this is a 2-liter 4-cylinder. Now, I'm not gonna lie, nothing will replace the good old V6 that the previous Gen 43 AMG had, but this 2-liter 4-cylinder is actually quite impressive. Again, it makes 419 horsepower. It's a mild hybrid setup, but there's no further hybridization like in the case of the C63 AMG. There's no extra battery packs that are mounted on the floor. This is purely a mild hybrid system that has an electric motor that sits between the engine and the transmission, and its main purpose is to actually give you better fuel economy. So, as you could see before, that launch was very aggressive, and I'm not gonna lie, I am impressed with this engine. It delivers power in a very, very smooth fashion, yet it is aggressive, it's super responsive, and acts like a true performer's 4-cylinder. Now, I still don't know if I like this one more or the B48 in BMW. Granted, the B48 has less power, but this one is up there, and it sounds really, really good for a 4-cylinder. Actually, might be my favorite sounding 4-popper. Anyways, the power, as I said, goes to all wheels via a 9-speed multi-clutch transmission, and let's put it into manual mode, talk about its behavior. It's super quick to respond. It provides somewhat aggressive shifts. They're not as aggressive as, for example, in a BMW M40i with a ZF8 speed, but I do like its responsiveness and what it can do. Downshift. While we're taking those corners aggressively, let's talk about how this thing handles, because it's also one thing that surprised me about the GLC 43. We're in the most aggressive Sport Plus mode for dampers, so the body roll and body control are great. There isn't much unnecessary body movements, and the car handles like a hot hatch. I could actually think that this is a GLA 45 that we're driving, not a bigger GLC. Granted, there are a couple of tricks that Mercedes did to give you that feeling of driving a smaller vehicle. We have a very quick steering, and we have a 4-wheel steering system, meaning the rear axle will turn to kind of give you that nimbleness, that sensation of driving a much smaller vehicle. The brakes, well, that's actually one thing I don't like about this thing. They are very touchy, and you don't get much feedback from the brake pedal. You can't really tell how much braking power you're applying, and that also is something that's gonna bother you on a daily basis. Let's have a little bit more fun before we talk what it's like to drive the GLC 43 on a daily basis, because man, I'm a car guy. I don't like SUVs, even though I have one, but this puts a smile on my face, and I really enjoy driving this GLC 43 AMG. The steering doesn't give you basically any feedback, but I mean, hey, what do you expect? Those dampers in Sport Plus, well, they're very stiff on this curvy back road, and there are moments when the car feels overdamped, but it's still very stable. It's super easy to drive. I mean, that's the nature of many new performance cars. They don't require much skill, but this is the times we live in. All right, let's put it into sport mode. We have a dial over here on the steering wheel to control it, transmission into drive, and let's talk about what it's like to drive it on a daily basis. Well, it's interesting. It feels like a performance vehicle, not gonna lie, and On one hand, I like that about the GLC 43 AMG, because if you buy an AMG, you want an AMG, right? You don't want a softened up, numbed down version like, for example, an Audi SQ5. I really like the SQ5. It's a very capable SUV and has an amazing engine, but it just feels like very sloppy and doesn't really feel like a performance SUV. This one most definitely does. So what makes it a performance? Well, that multi-clutch transmission is jerky. In traffic stop and go, you can feel when the clutch engages, and you can tell that this is a more performance-oriented unit. It's not as refined as, for example, PDK in Porsche or DSG in Volkswagen or S-Tronic in Audi. Now, it's a matter of getting used to. That's the nature of every dual clutch transmissions, but this is not the top of the line high performance S63 model, so I could live with the regular conventional, torque converted 9-speed that Mercedes offers in other cars. Next thing is the suspension damping. In the comfort mode, it's on the verge of being over damped. It's fine. I like how it reacts to any road imperfections. It filters them out, but this is something that also you'll have to get used to, right? On one hand, again, we're talking about a performance SUV, so this is expected, but I understand that for many people, this thing is a status symbol and they're gonna drive it because they wanna look rich. I mean, that's why you get a 43 AMG, right? Not a 63. Anyways, it was a little digression, but like I said, it's gonna feel a little sporty, so that's one thing that you wanna take under consideration when you're shopping for this thing. Also, another thing that I wanted to point out is we're driving a $77,000 tester and we don't even get adaptive cruise control. We have blind spot monitoring, but we don't have lane keeping assist, we don't have traffic sign recognition, we don't have automatic lane changing, and yeah, we don't need any of those things in cars, right? But if a $25,000 Kia K4 comes with those things as standard, a $77,000 Mercedes GLC 43 could as well. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say about the new GLC 43, so let's jump into the final thoughts and summarize this thing. Okay guys, it's time to sum up the GLC 43 AMG, so let's talk about what's good and what's bad. As an overall package, this is a truly impressive performance SUV. The driving dynamics are great, and while I prefer the old twin-turbo V6, the new 4-cylinder sounds and performs better than I thought. Granted, it doesn't replace a V6, but like I said, it's an impressive unit. My big concern though is the long-term reliability. Obviously, the time will tell, but in my eyes, such complex powertrain will be a nightmare to upkeep in the future, and I don't know, I just cannot imagine the potential maintenance cost to keep this thing running. I also expect better interior quality from a Mercedes. I'm sorry, but it's a shame that a car that's a synonym for luxury has worse cabin than an Audi or a Volvo. And no, ambient lighting with 100,000 different colors does not do the trick. Overall, it's a good car, just needs some minor interior tweaks and a straight 6 under the hood. Anyways, if you guys have any questions about the new GLC 43, drop a comment and I'll answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.